The college football experience, Missouri Tigers 2023 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, brought to you by Patreon. Yes, score exclusive perks and content available only to our Patreons at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Check it out. And remember, folks, as always, to let it ride.
Hey, this is Derek Stevens. I'm the owner of Circa Las Vegas. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. Missouri Tigers 2023 season preview episode. I'm excited to talk Mizzou football, and it's a brand new year. Brand new team in a way. We'll talk all about it. We got a new offensive coordinator coming in. Perhaps you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
Yes. Talking a little we Tigers. All right. Yeah, I know. Orgeron said it for LSU, but we could use it for Missouri. I'm excited to talk about them. And a pivotal year, perhaps. And, I think we, much to the chagrin of Missouri fans, we were spot on last year, I believe. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former, Herndon Basketball League MVP, the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free lot giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, man?
Let's get it going, buddy. Talk a little Mizzou football. The new day and age. All right. No more divisions after this season. New offensive coordinator coming in. But let's start things off by, we got a lot of pushback last year.
To Mizzou fans' credit, that's just a sign of a good, healthy fan base. Is that if they disagree with something we say about their team, they come at us. We don't mind that. Please come at us if you think that we're wrong. Sometimes we might be wrong, but I think more often than not, we're probably on the more corrector side of things.
Correct. And look, if you're hopefully watching this on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience, because NC Nick's wearing a filthy t-shirt.
A future SEC opponent.
Yeah, future SEC opponent. But let's talk about a season ago before we really dive into stuff here. We called for the under. I believe it was at 6.5.
Same as this year.
And same as this year. Ain't nothing changed, but we hit on that. I mean, you look back at their wins. I guess the only really good, I guess you could say South Carolina and Arkansas, 2 good wins. Other than that, a bad Louisiana Tech team, a really bad Louisiana Tech team in Sonny Cumbie's first game. Abilene Christian actually was a little bit closer than probably they would have liked. A 3-point win against Vanderbilt. And then you beat South Carolina, New Mexico State, and Arkansas. That's not a great year. So we were right on the under, but at the same time, we also thought that they might can Eli Drinkwitz. Well, it turned out, I think before the season started, he signed an extension. Well, that which had us all a little confused here. What do you make of last season and Drinkwitz? Let me pull this up here, but I believe
he's still on the hot seat. So he's entering year 4 now. and his so far he's 17-19 overall with Missouri, and he's 11-14 in conference. You're only going to get so many years with that kind of record.
Yeah.
The first year was COVID, 5-5, get him a little bit of a break. And then he has back-to-back 6-7 seasons. Missouri in general, they haven't won a bowl game since 2014. So the 2 seasons were 6-6 regular seasons. And then he's lost to Wake Forest and Army in bowl games, which, look, I know bowl games don't really matter, but for fan bases, they still do. And I think if you're an SEC team, you expect to beat Army and Wake Forest. So right now he has not been able to get Missouri over the hump. And year 4 is a huge year. Again, if they're 6-6 again, I don't know. Is he fired then? Or did they, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I thought he was going to get fired after last season, so I'm going to say yes. But especially knowing that there's an Urban Meyer out there, could you imagine that if they landed Urban Meyer? But that's my Patty C take for the day.
Well, one reason why they kept him, there was he was recruiting really well. 2 years ago, he had the 18th best class in the country and 6th best in the SEC. That's bringing in talent. This year, 34th in the country, which isn't bad, but 13th in the SEC. So if you're not winning that many games, and if recruiting's starting to suffer a little bit, then there's a couple more reasons why you might not be long for Columbia.
Well, and if the portal, if you're bringing in a great recruit and he's only there for a year or two and he leaves, I think there's too much. We make too much of what is, essentially like the recruiting class, because
sure.
I'll hit on it in a little bit here. We're going to talk about the transfer portal. We're going to talk about the offense, defense, special teams. We're going to go game by game on the Mizzou Tigers schedule. But before we do all that, I want to tell you that the Missouri Tigers 2023 season preview episode is brought to you by the Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon. Yes, do your part in the war against corporate gambling and sign up for the SGP Patreon. There are a ton of exclusive content, contests, and merch just for our patrons. So plus a monthly SGP Stories podcast. Yes, you can find out about that time I took a mulch nap at East Carolina, and an ad-free, uncensored show highlighting the best stories from decades of being degens. There's even a Discord channel just for the patrons, so you got to check it out. All right, that Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon is a great way to score exclusive perks and support SGPN. Once again, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. All right, we are back on the college football experience, Missouri Tigers preview. So,
can I draw a parallel for you real quick? You guys just did the Maryland preview. Is Missouri the Maryland of the SEC East? Beat the teams they're supposed to beat, never beat anybody above them, average every year, barely get into a bowl game. They're not doing awful. They're not doing great. They bring in talent.
But they should beat Army.
Yeah,
but But I see what you're doing now. I will say Gary Pinkel, when he first came to the SEC, he went to a couple SEC championships. But Gary Pinkel's like a once in a lifetime coach there. So
one other quick stat: Eli Drinkwitz on the road in SEC play with Missouri is just 3-11 with 2 wins over SC and 1 win over Vandy. So they haven't really beaten anybody on the road.
And here's my problem. Here's my problem. People say, "Oh, the SEC is so tough there," and sure, it's a tough conference. But you're in the SEC East, and guess what? You draw Arkansas every year from the West, so you got no excuses, in my opinion. Here, you know what I mean? Like you play, I'm sorry, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, South Carolina—they're all solid, but you should be able to win some of those. And then when you add in Arkansas to that mix, which you get every year, I think you should be winning more. Let's key in on what I want to touch base on the transfer portal here. We will grade the transfer portal from, if we thought they won it or lost it. But some of the stuff I was talking about earlier, I think kind of goes hand in hand with the transfer portal.
Right.
Departing in the transfer portal was defensive lineman Arden Walker. He went with Deion Sanders, and Coach Prime. He says, we coming. He's Colorado Buffalo now. Tight end Gavin McKay went to the FCS in Mercer. Cornerback Marcus Scott is now a California Golden Bear. Offensive tackle Luke Griffin is a Purdue Boilermaker. Running back Taj Butts is in the portal. Defensive lineman Ian Matthews is in the portal. Wide receiver Zach Hahn is in the portal. Defensive end Daniel Robledo is in the portal. And this was a big one here to me. Trahan Jeffcoat, who was all SEC defensive first team defense two years ago, I believe. He transfers to Arkansas. What? That's supposed to be their rival,
right?
Where's my sound effects here? I can't find it right now. Here we go. I mean, that's brutal. That's
For
brutal
sure.
right there. Then running back Elijah Young is also in the portal. Wide receiver Toski Dove heads out to the Memphis Tigers.
They play each other this year.
That's true, in a filthy NFL corporate game. But offensive tackle Hiron White heads out to SMU, the Mustangs. Cornerback Les Hewitt also in the portal. Quarterback Tyler Macon heads to Alcorn State. Linebacker Zachary Lovett to Iowa State. That was a nice get for the Cyclones. Linebacker Devin Nicholson to Kent State. And this is the big one. Dominic Lovett to the Georgia Bulldogs. Dominic Lovett was a beast receiver for them a year ago. This is my point on, like, if you're bringing it with Jeffcoat and Lovett, and I got to get to a few more here, but what's the point of those great recruiting classes if, and you could say, well, Lovett wasn't that big of a recruit, but it doesn't matter to me. Like, if you're losing your best players.
Yeah. I mean, it's argued.
Like,
you could make a very good argument that they lost their best offensive and best defensive player to the portal.
Yeah, and then I'm not even done here. So cornerback Darius Jackson, the Texas State, defensive end Travion Ford, who was a 4-star transfer, get for the Toledo Rockets, and safety Jelani Williams, all gone. Now incoming, they landed Houston offensive tackle Cameron Johnson. That was a nice get for them. I believe he started with the Houston Cougars. They got quarterback Jake Garcia, 4-star transfer, Patty C's boy, who he thought when Van Dyke went down at Miami, he was like, oh, Garcia's going to light it up. Not necessarily the case. But he transfers in, big time recruit. I'm surprised to see that he didn't beat out Brady Cook and for spring. So a bit concerned there, but you got to love getting that for quarterback depth. Sure. Then Eastern Michigan offensive tackle Marcellus Johnson. I love what Chris Creighton does. So I think that's a nice get for them. Safety Trevez Johnson from the Florida Gators. Pretty disgusting in division, but nice get, I guess, if you're a Mizzou fan. Jackson State defensive end Niles Gaddy said, I'm done with DI. I want to go play in the SEC. Linebacker Sidney Williams from Florida State. Northwestern defensive lineman Austin Firestone. I wonder if he was one of the guys that got waterboarded in that locker room. Then you got wide receiver Theo Wease from Oklahoma. Now I know Theo Wease. This might be a nice get.
Solid.
Solid. And that's what they did. All right. I think I caught everyone right there. I still think they lost the portal, man. Even though if Garcia ends up, let's say Cook doesn't play well, Garcia comes in and he looks great for the rest of the year. That's the only way you win the portal. And with him being named backup right now, or I know it's potential for him to still start. I guess it's summer, but I got to say they lost the portal right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like some of the offensive linemen they brought in, quarterback depth, bringing in Wease, the wide receiver. But I think losing Lovett is that's not a win right there. I mean, they lost a better receiver than what they brought in. In general, I'm going to mark it up as a slight loss. I mean, they brought in a lot of guys, but yeah, I mean, like I said before, they might have lost their best offensive and best defensive player to SEC opponents, which doesn't help. So I say it's a loss. Yeah.
SEC opponents that they play too.
Yeah.
It's not like going to Mississippi State where you don't see them once every 30 years. I feel like,
right.
All right, let's talk about this offense because they go out and they get, and I just got a chance to interview Jeff Tedford at Mountain West Media Day. They go out and get Kirby Moore from Fresno State, and Tedford not at all concerned about the drop off, but did think Kirby Moore did a great job. And
sure,
Jeff Tedford's an offensive guy, so he basically does the offense he wants. He teaches these guys, and he did this with Kalen DeBauer, and you saw the success of Washington, right? He was a coordinator. I know people think, well, Caleb DeBauer was the head coach of Fresno State. He was the offensive coordinator for Jeff Tedford before that. And Tedford kind of has a farming system, he says. And he goes, so we knew that, our offense was going to be very good. So I plan ahead of knowing that, okay, this guy's probably going to get hired somewhere this year. So you kind of have this system set in play. But regardless, he thinks Moore is a fantastic coach with a promising future. So what do you make of that hire?
I think change was needed. If you're looking at just SEC play, Missouri's offense was ranked 12th last year. They weren't really good at running the ball or throwing the ball. They didn't really do anything good. It'll be interesting to see if they go much more pass heavy like Fresno was. But on the surface, I think they needed a change, and they hired a guy who's had a lot of success as a coordinator. So I like the move.
Yeah. And look, let's talk a little bit about that offense. Scoring offense, 65th in the nation a year ago. Rush offense, 63rd. Passing offense, 90th. Total offense, 81st. So those are those numbers right there. And Brady Cook is back. Now, Cook did not play in the spring game, which is even more surprising that they have him like penciled in as a starter when Garcia was there. But I guess he was a starter last year, and Drinkwitz probably trust him a little bit more. But I mean, this is a guy that, to me, there were games he looked all right, and there were games he looked really bad, and I had a hard time. Yeah, I had a hard time understanding who is Brady Cook. He was just a sophomore a season ago, so you can maybe chalk up some of that to youth. What do you make of the quarterback? So I think the depth is probably better this season, but
I'd agree. Yeah. So this is Brady Cook's fourth year in Columbia. So he's been around for a long time, but you're right. Consistency is a problem. Those clunkers, those games against Kentucky, Auburn, and Kansas State were dreadful last year, and probably not a coincidence that they lost all three of them. If you look at his stats, he had 14 touchdowns compared to 7 interceptions, but 6 of those touchdowns came against New Mexico State and Abilene Christian. That tells you that in the 11 other games that Missouri played, they threw 8 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. That passing attack was not, and they had good receivers too. That's the thing. They had a solid O-line and they had good receivers. So the one problem or one of the problems with Drinkwitz's tenure at Missouri is that he's had subpar quarterback play, whether it be Bazelak that he transferred to Indiana, or now Brady Cook has looked just average, I'd say. So, if he gets the starting nod, he better, play well right away, or we might see Garcia in there.
Yeah. The run game though, they still have Cody Schrader, who was a D2 transfer that played well. And then Nathaniel Peat, who was a Stanford transfer a few years ago. So I kind of like the running back room.
It's solid. I mean, both guys had over 100 carries last year, but neither of them averaged over 5 yards per carry. They definitely missed Tyler Beatty last season.
I'm sure that
on the Ravens, I think.
Yeah, and
on Broncos, maybe one team. I don't know, but sorry, go ahead.
No, I thought they would be a little more active in the portal at the running back spot, but they weren't. So there's that. The Luther Burden, their 5-star wideout, is back. I know people were speculating he would transfer. I don't know, but I'd
expect a big season because he flashed last year. I mean, even though he only had 45 catches for 375 yards and 6 touchdowns, he had a solid freshman season. But you could tell there's talent there. So
I actually might even put a little bit of that on Drinkwitz and the OC from a year ago. It's like when he pops on screen, like you're like, whoa, who's that? And you talk about Kirby Moore coming in, who had Jalen Cropper and Josh Kelly, 2 very good wideouts at Fresno State. Maybe he finds a way to make sure that they get Luther Burden the ball. And
I sure hope so. I expect a big second year for Burden.
They have Mookie Cooper at the other wide receiver spot. They also have Theo Wease, as I alluded to, the Oklahoma transfer. They also have Dennis Jackson from Ole Miss on that depth chart as well. Tight end Tyler Stevens is back. I mean, the passing offense, I still think, I know they lost Lovett, but I still think it could be pretty good if they can get better quarterback play.
I do like the receiver group. So you hit the nail on the head if they get better quarterback play.
Yeah. On the offensive line, they bring back 3 of 5, but once again, they landed the center from Houston, Cameron Johnson, who played tackle. I mean, he played a bunch of different spots, and then Marcellus Johnson from Eastern Michigan. So in a way, you could say they got 5 starters, that have started college football games. I think their left tackle everyone loves is Javon Foster, second team all SEC. I mean, I kind of think the offense will be a lot better just because of the coaching hire and another year of Brady Cook in the offense.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Now, last year they were kind of conservative on offense, which you could argue maybe helped the defense. The defense was definitely the star of the team last year. If they get all pass happy, does that have a negative effect on the defense this year? I don't know, but yeah, I agree. I think the offense, I think there's a definite uptick this year compared to last year.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the defense side of the ball, because Blake Baker becoming a star. I feel like people are going to say, I mean, there's already speculation this guy could be a head coach somewhere. Scoring defense 55th, rush defense 31st, pass defense 47th, total defense 33rd. Pretty damn good, all things considering. Now, we touched the offensive side of the ball brings back 7 starters. The defensive side of the ball brings back 8. All right, and you look at the defensive line. You lose Jeff Coat, but you bring back Darius Robinson. You have Christian Williams, the Oregon transfer at the defensive tackle spot. So you bring back essentially 2 of 4 starters on the defensive line. I know they're excited about Jaden. What is it, Jenigan? At the other defensive tackle spot. Also the linebacker play, Tyron Hopper, second team all SEC a year ago. He is back, and also Chad Bailey. They are breaking in a new linebacker in Trevez Johnson from Florida, transferring in at the star spot. And then the secondary. Hello, the whole fucking secondary is back.
Like that.
So you gotta love that. I mean, Ennis Rakestraw, Joseph Carlton, Jalen Charles, Chris Abrams, Drain. I don't fucking know. But they're all back, and man, I'm kind of impressed with the defensive side of the ball here. Kicker and punter back as well, special teams wise.
I think with the defense, so if I catch you off, I think the defense, the main thing is pass rush. They were in conference play. They were second best in the SEC in sacks last year. So perhaps that pass rush made the secondary look better than they actually are. And while they do bring back some guys on the D line, those guys are defensive tackles, good defensive tackles. But the question mark this year is going to be, can they be as effective as last year rushing the passer? Probably not, but maybe all that experience in the secondary, maybe they get some coverage sacks. But overall, you have to like this defense. It's definitely I would say it's in the top half of SEC defenses. Yeah. No, and I'm kind of optimistic on if they can just get solid quarterback play. When I think of the whole team, I'm like, hey, maybe they'll be a lot better this year. Maybe Drinkwitz shouldn't have got fired. Look, we're going to go game by game on the schedule, and hopefully you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/thecollegeexperience. Because, we have a sweet little graphic behind us talking about the win total, what Vegas expects from Mizzou, but we're going to go game by game and project just how the Missouri Tigers will do in 2023. But before we do that, I want to tell you that the College Football Experience Missouri Tigers preview is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, the NFL season is right around the corner, and Underdog Pick'em is a great way to get down on NFL player props. And I'm telling you, it's available in a ton of markets. So plus there's plenty of opportunities to win in their daily MLB contests. And of course, make sure you enter the Best Ball Mania, where first place gets $1 million. Head on over to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use that promo code SGPN for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Once again, that's UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. All right, we are back talking Missouri Tiger football.
And opening Thursday night. Well, first off, if you see this graphic, once again, youtube.com/thecollegeexperience. Subscribe to the podcast too, wherever podcasts can be found. But if you see this graphic, you see, shout out to Cam Kerr, our graphics guy, 6.5 wins is the over and under. Same as last season, as NC
such an easy decision by Vegas. Like I could have made that decision in like 10 seconds or not even 2 seconds. Like Missouri, 6.5.
Yeah, very, very easy there. Last year they had to go to Manhattan, Kansas in the non-con. But I'm curious, what do you think's tougher? Like they had a terrible Louisiana Tech team at K-State, home to Abilene, home to New Mexico State. You could argue this year's tougher because I actually think it is. This year's tougher because the non-con is South Dakota, Middle Tennessee, Kansas State, but it's in Columbia. But then you had the somewhat neutral site game in St. Louis against Memphis. Yeah, I think this year's tougher.
I guess I don't know, man. Especially for Missouri, who has not been good on the road under Drinkwitz. I think to have no road games, true road games, out of conference, I think that's a good thing. I mean, in general, they only have 4 road games on this whole schedule.
Yeah, which is always huge. But I still think. We'll get to it. Thursday, August 31st, the South Dakota Coyotes coming into town. This one's an easy win. 1-0.
Yep. Moving along.
Now is where it gets interesting because week 2, Rick Stockstill, NASCAR driver, head coach of Middle Tennessee State, comes into town. Do you know what happened with Rick Stockstill in 2016 when he came into Columbia, Missouri?
I've done my research. They won 51-45.
Yeah, and do you know what happened? I believe this might have been.
Did they fire Barry Odom after that?
They might have, but also in 2003 they played, right? These are the 2 times they ever played. Missouri won 41-40. So watch out! Watch out with the Blue Raiders, man. This is So it's 1-1 all time, and man, Missouri by the skin of their teeth. Maybe we should put MTSU in the SEC as well. This is what I mean, though, is before you had New Mexico State. This is a much more losable game. Middle Tennessee, they won in 2016 here. Now I know no one on that roster, unless they have a Stetson Bennett on their team, was on that team, but.
They beat Miami last year.
Yeah, they beat Miami last year. They've beaten Syracuse at the Carrier Dome or whatever the fuck they're calling it now. It's a sneaky game, man. It's a sneaky game. I'm going to call for Mizzou because Chase Cunningham is being, he's graduated after his 10 years in college football. But it wouldn't shock me. Would it shock you?
No, it wouldn't. Missouri's offense has been sluggish the last couple of years, which opens the door for upsets. And, with a brand new coordinator, maybe they're still working the kinks out in week 2. So it would not surprise me. Like you, I will take Missouri to get the win. It'll probably be maybe closer than what some people expect, but I think the Tigers will figure out a way to win.
All right, and now we go to Kansas State. So I got them 2-0, you got them 2-0, but the Kansas State Wildcats are coming into town. This is, I think, the game of the year for Missouri. First off, like to see this game back on the schedule because as much as Missouri fans probably enjoy that SEC money, you're a fucking Big 8 team. All right, you're a Big 8 team who got paid out, but I missed you in the Big 8. So I like these games against your real rivals, not this TV exec nonsense. So who you taking here? I mean, look, this is a winnable game for Mizzou, but they got their ass whooped last year.
40-12. They only mustered 222 yards of offense. Brady Cook threw 2 interceptions. And then very late, they brought in Jack Abraham, who was the transfer from Southern Miss. He might have one of the best stat lines of all time. He was 0 for 3 with 2 more interceptions. So, I mean, complete domination by Kansas State last year.
Yeah, and I think they scored on the final play of the game to even get to double digits.
With that said, I kind of want to give this game to Missouri. We saw Missouri at home is different, man. They almost beat Georgia last year. And there is the revenge angle. I'm going to give it to Missouri. I don't feel good about it, but I'm going to give it to Mizzou.
I'm not, but I think it is going to be a very close game because K-State doesn't have like this offense that will just, they blew them out last year, but it's different.
The blowout was partially due to those 4 interceptions also.
Yeah, I think field goal game, K-State gets it, but I would not be shocked if Missouri got it.
It's a fun game.
Right?
I like it.
Yeah. Then the very next week at the Dome, this filthy. Why couldn't you play this on campus or at the Liberty Bowl? Instead, you play at this stupid stadium. Gosh, this roller rink. I hate this game because of it.
Only XFL games should be played there, right?
Not even that. Only monster truck madnesses should be happening there. Memphis, Missouri in St. Louis at that filthy stadium. One of the worst stadiums in America. Now the last time they played Memphis in 2018, Missouri lit them up. 22-point win in Columbia, Missouri. Right. I remember watching that though. And I feel like Mizzou opened the doors late.
Yeah.
I feel like that was somewhat of a close game for a while. Missouri's 3-1 all time against the Memphis Tigers. Memphis bringing back some guys that, like, I know some people are high on them, think they could win the AAC this year. So this is what I mean. I think the schedule is a little trickier this year because Middle Tennessee and Memphis are so much better than New Mexico State and La Tech.
Very true.
I'm still going to take Mizzou. So I got them 3-1.
Yeah. This game could also be pretty close, but I'm going to ride Missouri. So, my fear here is that if there's 3 close games, can Missouri find their way to win all 3 of them? But that's the way I have it. 4-0, and they're about to extend Drinkwitz again.
And then the final game in September, Saturday, September 30th at Vanderbilt. Oh man, this is the one, like they won by a field goal last year.
I'm going Vandy. This is where, Missouri is a little overconfident at this point, and their first 2 road trip of the year, I think, upset. I smell it coming. I think they trip up on the Commodores and go to 4-1.
I'm taking Mizzou. I got them 4, and we both got them 4-1. But I mean, this is once again a field goal game to me. Then the LSU Tigers come to town. It's a back-to-back away for LSU. And if you listen to our LSU podcast, I said, man, it's the sneakiest game on the schedule is that game in Columbia, Missouri on October 7th. I still say if you're a Mizzou fan, you wanted it later in the year when it was colder, but it's a sneaky game. I got to take LSU right now, but
well, if you recall on that LSU pod, I went Missouri there. I do think it's a sneaky spot. I think it's the only game I had LSU losing all season. So now I have Missouri beating K-State and LSU. Like, is it realistic they knock off 2 really good teams? Maybe not, but that's what I got so far. So, after the Memphis win, they were extending Drinkwitz. After the Vandy loss, he was back on the hot seat. Now they beat LSU, and now he's in their good graces again. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I don't have that. Those fans must have got to you last year. So I got him at 4-2.
I'm at 5-1.
And now they head to Lexington, Kentucky, where this is a game. This is one of those ones you circle too. I got Kentucky winning it, but I don't feel great about it. This is probably another field goal game. So I will move them to 4-3. How about you?
Yeah, I like the trend. I think the trend's going to continue with Missouri struggling on the road. So give me Kentucky and give me a 5-2 record at this point.
Now South Carolina and Spencer Rattler come to town, and South Carolina's, I want to say, I don't know if you have this nugget pulled up. I want to say they've been terrible in Columbia, Missouri, over the years.
I don't have that up. I know. So I think they've been bad against Missouri in general because 2 of those 3 road wins that Drinkwitz has in SEC play were at South Carolina.
Yeah, I feel like Missouri has had their number lately. So I certainly lean Missouri here, especially as we're getting later into the season here. Who you taking in this game?
Yeah, I'm with you. Again, I think it's a close game. I think there's a lot of 50-50 matchups in the SEC East this year, other than Georgia. But Missouri at home, I like. Give me the Tigers.
Yeah, they haven't won. So South Carolina hasn't won in Columbia since 2017, and that is okay. They won in 13 in double overtime, and in 17. That's it. So 2 times. I know they haven't been playing that long, but. Yeah, since 2012, but currently Missouri's on a 4-game win streak. So I feel good about Missouri taking down South Carolina. Same as you, correct?
Yeah. So I'm at what, 6-2. You're at 5-3.
Yeah, 5-3. Now they get a bye week, much needed bye week, because they go into Athens, Sanford Stadium, and take on the reigning champs, the Georgia Bulldogs. This is a loss.
Yep. I don't think Georgia's overlooking them this year, and it's in Georgia, so Bulldogs got this.
5-4, right? And
6-3.
Yeah. Now they host the Tennessee Volunteers. Interesting game, November 11th. You could talk me into a win here. I feel like this is another 50-50 game. I know Josh Heupel used to be the OC of Missouri. You know what? Give me a win. Give me a win.
Yeah, at some point, maybe it was in the off season, but I said Missouri's either going to upset LSU or Tennessee at home. I don't think both of them, especially. I mean, look, Kansas. I haven't beaten LSU and Kansas State at home already. They're going to drop one of those. So let me make that be the Tennessee one, and I'll disagree with you. I'll say they lose to Tennessee at home.
Okay, so now we're at the same record though of 6-4. Yeah. 6-4. Now they're home to the Florida Gators on November 18th. This game's going to be cold for them Florida boys. I got them winning this one, moving to 7-4.
7-4. Give me the over.
The over cashes, and then on November 24th they head right day after you're having that turducken Black Friday taking on Arkansas and Fayetteville. I got this one as a loss. So I got him 7-5 and it's all said and done. How about yourself?
I hate to agree with you, but this was a crazy game last year where Missouri won in Columbia 29-27. I think Arkansas gets the better of them this year. So I have 7-5. I have an over. We're in agreement. Does that go ahead?
I was gonna say, how confident? Could this be on the locks episode in August?
Dude, no way. I have them beating K-State and LSU to get to 7. So definitely not. Yeah, I think they're going to be between 5 and 7 wins.
Let me ask you something though. What is their? So you think they only have one for sure loss then in Georgia?
That's fair.
It's just I just can't with Brady. I need to see Brady Cook be better, man. I don't feel confident at this. I'm saying 7-5, but I don't. They could easily be 4-8. I could build you a case right now of 4-8, and I'm just saying their wins are.
So,
yeah,
let me ask you this:
South Dakota, Middle Tennessee, they get one of either Memphis or Vandy, and then they beat Florida. That's 4-8. You know,
sure.
But what were you going to ask me?
If we're correct and they're 7-5, does Drinkwitz get a 5th year?
Probably does.
I think
he
so.
Probably does. Yeah.
I think because you would have Cook and Burden and others coming back, and maybe that offense is looking better under the new OC. So I think he's safe at 7-5. But are you happy as a Missouri fan at 7-5?
Yeah, that's where it gets a little interesting. And let me ask you this, and I'll add on to that. What if they go 7-5, but they lose to Boston College in the bowl game?
That's tricky, man. Because I mean, like I said, he's 0-2 in bowls right now, and chances are, if they go 7-5, it's not like they're going to be in a top bowl. They're going to be playing an opponent kind of like Boston College or somebody, of that level where they should win. So if they lose that's a good question. That'll be tough, man. I don't know.
And I didn't realize they played Boston College 2 years ago and lost. So that'd be their second time.
Right.
Yeah. That'd be their second loss against Boston College in the Drinkwitz era. Folks, look, before we get out of here, I had the opportunity to sit down with Michael Barker, AKA College Football Campus Tour, to talk about his experiences to Columbia, Missouri, to Faurot Field, I think it's called Faurot Field. I was calling it Faurot for a little bit like Gus. But here's that interview right now. On the College Football Experience, Missouri Tigers 2023 season preview episode is none other than Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour. Yes, you should give him a follow on Twitter at CFB Campus Tour, because his page, well, it's fucking awesome. All right. He's been to every single FBS school, most of the FCS, and D2, D3, all this good stuff. And he documents his travel all over his Twitter page. And folks, I'm not talking about he hits 10 games a season. I'm talking like he goes to like 10 games in 2 weeks. It's unbelievable. So give him a follow on Twitter at CFB Campus Tour. And Michael, appreciate you hopping on the show, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Tentatively, we got 55 games on the regular season schedule with 7 Saturdays TBD, and hopefully get 2 per game on those. So 65, something like that. So we're ready for it. And as always, thank you for having me.
Of course, man. And we're now talking about Faurot Field, aka Memorial Stadium, aka the Zoo, right? Don't they say this is the Zoo? I know this stadium. I mean, they used to be in the Big 8 when I started first watching college football. They were in the Big 8, and this was always like a sneaky place, even though they weren't even good. I feel like the 5th down Colorado play, the Scott Frost play, like there's so many moments that I feel like it was always a trap game, and it still kind of holds that tradition today. As Georgia got very fortunate to get out of there last season. Talk to me about the history of Faurot Field at Memorial, whatever they say.
Yeah, so Faurot Field opened in 1927, OG capacity 25,000. It used to have upwards of 70,000 before renovation was done to reduce it. The largest crowd they ever had, 75,298, 1980 against Penn State. It's named after their coach, Don Faurot. It's the only FBS stadium in the state of Missouri, and the most identifiable feature is the Rock M above the north end zone, which is whitewashed rocks that are 90 by 95 feet, and it was done by freshmen originally in 1927, and it's maintained every year.
Yeah, and they always have. I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about, despite not having ever been there. But they also have that cool end zone where it's like it's not checkered, but it's I don't know it's like diamond shaped. I mean, I don't know. I enjoy that. It always stands out to me when I see a game. So tell me about your experiences to Faurot Field. The T is silent. I keep making that mistake.
That's all right. So when you go to a game, you get corrected very quick if you say the wrong pronunciation. So I've learned the hard lessons many times. The only game I went to, so I've been to Faurot Field a couple of times. Only one game. It was the season finale 2020 COVID season. So it was reduced capacity. It was against Georgia, and Georgia, you talked about Georgia in 2022. Well, in 2020, they came to play 49-14. JT Daniels, 299 yards, 3 touchdowns. George Pickens, 126 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, they looked like a beast. And, of course, they went on to win the 2021-2022 national championship. So I'm looking for some doubles. There's some FCS schools in Missouri, like Lindenwood and SEMO, and I would love to get a double there. But, as is the case with many of the schools in the SEC, during COVID, it was a blessing because they were actually allowing fans while many other conferences were not. But the other side of that is you didn't get to see the peak atmosphere, the one you're talking about being a trap game or having this mystique there that people sometimes fear. So I'm looking for an opportunity to go back and get a non-COVID peak Faurot Field experience.
Yeah, folks, he's like, I'm looking for a double. All right, this isn't baseball terms here. He's looking for 2 games in one day. That's why you should be following Michael's page, because sometimes last year I think he went to 3 games in one day in North Carolina. I mean, fucking unbelievable. Folks, make sure you give Michael a follow at CFB Campus Tour. And Michael, I hope to one day catch you at the Zoo for a Missouri football game, because this is that sneaky road trip in the SEC where I feel like, you could get snow. I feel like most of the SEC schools, you don't really get a chance at snow or rain or heavy rain. I mean, I guess all of them have rain, but just cold temperatures. And I feel like this is a sneaky cold spot in the SEC, landscape. But yeah, man, maybe we can catch a game sometime.
Yeah. And downtown Como is what they call it, Columbia, Missouri. A lot of bars, a lot of cool spots down there. So warm up with a couple drinks, head over to Faurot Field, circle back downtown. It would be a good time. So hopefully we can do that in the future.
For sure, folks. Get out there and follow Michael Barker. I'm telling you, if you love college football, you won't regret it at CFB Campus Tour. Take care, Michael, and thanks for hopping on the show.
Absolutely.
On the college football Michael Barker. Whoa, I almost played it again. Yeah, look, Faurot Field, NC Nick, we got to get out there for a game.
Dude, especially like a night game there. Like those night games are fun there. So yeah, that would be a great experience.
Yeah, I mean, you remember the Scott Frost game? That game was crazy. They should have beat Nebraska. Yeah, we got to get out there for a ball game, folks. That's our show. I'm on the under, and I'm on the over. NC Nick's on the over, but we don't feel great about it. I don't think you'll be hearing this on the Locks Pod come August. So stay tuned. Subscribe to the College Football Experience wherever podcasts can be found. Please hop on over to iTunes. Give us a 5-star review if you can as well. It's been dry in the summer. What are you guys doing? I understand you're on vacation. People. Get on over there. And also remember, we host a College Basketball Experience. Dennis Gates, great first season. I'm excited about the future. I know you are as well, NC Nick. So when the college basketball season hits, we are here every single night of the season. Subscribe, tell a friend. Also host the College Baseball Experience with Noah Beanick and the FCS College Football Experience. Yes, I host that as well. Subscribe. That's an all separate podcast. Also the Big 12 Experience. So go check on the old neighbors. All right. Big 12 Experience. Check out that. We come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. Also check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. All right. They're doing their NFL team by team breakdowns. And I know you Kansas City Chief fans are out there. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast, the NFL Gambling Podcast. Get that SGPN app. It's free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. And the Discord. Come talk Mizzou football or basketball or whatever in the Discord. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. All right, folks. Until next time, this is the College Football Experience, Missouri Tiger style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And you know what you're getting.